deep tech is particularly hard, as you said, right?
Correct, sir.
The example sort of noted, right? So I think we have to, create large domestic pools of capital. I think there is some start. Government has SIDBI, fund of fund programs, but a lot more capital, pension capital, lot of long-term pools of capital, and I think it has to be largely domestic, especially when it comes to deep tech. Given the way boundaries are getting drawn in the world, countries are very sensitive about technology and all those things. So we have to really develop domestic pools of capital to invest behind deep tech, especially. There's a lot of capital available from foreign if you want to invest in sort of e-commerce or classic software, but deep tech I think is really sort of different.
Okay. So coming to the next part of it, while the role of government as a regulator, investor, and probably even a buyer or a distributor, how do you see Indian government's role evolving across these? Are we seeing enough proactive policies? And what would you like to see more? Because we do have some technocrats, bureaucrats who will be viewing this and going to there. So what do we expect? Because at the end of the day, a scientist in the lab to come out on the ground, and if the innovation is not selling and getting commercialized, everybody is answerable and the overall ecosystem gets affected. So what roles do you see here for the government to come in and, are you currently seeing and also would like to see so that, the initiative taken by such funds on the front end are well backed by solid, timelines which get extended by the grants which come in. So how do you see this, and a few thoughts on this, please?
I think government has been really sort of, helpful a lot in the last few years, and I think they've woken up to the fact that, India needs to have its own sort of, strength and sort of core emerging deep technology areas. As I was talking about, they have national sort of Anusandhan Foundation, which is to, give more and more research funding to universities. We saw the defense sector opening up. It actually sort of led to, a lot of startups actually gaining traction, right? So they've sort of banned a lot of, defense technologies from getting as a stock about. Actually, then you have to procure from the Anusandhan Foundation, which is, prime example of research funding to universities. Many more in line, I think, it actually space sector is now ISRO is kind of startups are actually getting involving private players. So I think government has done a lot, but obviously, as I said, there's a lot more to go, both in terms of sort of, creating more sort of R&D environment back, funding those things, creating more pools of risk capital that, investors who want to invest in deep tech can go and raise capital from, make buying easier from startups, and in general, sort of, create a more conducive atmosphere. Today, if you look at grants, right, like a lot of departments give grants, right? The quantum is very small. Right? That doesn't go a very long way, right? And any kind of proof point are still sort of, take a lot of time, right? So I think huge role of government to play in deep tech. If you look at any country in the world, government has been the instrumental force behind actually creating the, the deep tech ecosystem. And I think India has to have the same. We have to have a, any chance of success.
Got it.
Yeah, so I wrote some articles on this as well for NDTV, right? If you look at deep tech, there are three arms to it, three legs to it. There's a capital leg, there's a market leg, and there's a talent leg.
Okay.
Right? And I think a lot needs to be done in all these three from a policy perspective, right? So when it's market, who's buying our deep tech products?
Correct.
When you're not going to sell, unlike SaaS that you're able to sell outside of India, you're not going to sell deep tech outside of India that easily. So you have to have somebody buying your products. And who is the best buyer? The people who, I think the government and the defense. And we know how difficult it is to sell. Although IDEX is opening up, I think that's a huge challenge. So unless until we have defense completely buying from startups in India, of course we have to deliver products that are the quality that require.
Correct.
But if you don't open up the market, it's very hard. So my thought is till we get to $10 trillion economy, it's very hard to push these things, but we keep trying. So the market itself is question. The second leg is, to Roy's point, where's the talent? How many PhDs are we generating, and how many, and you ask yourself the question, if you graduate with a PhD degree in India, where do you go?
Teach.
That's it.
Yeah.
How many colleges, and what do you get paid for that?
Correct.
So, if you don't hence encourage that leg, then there's no time to build these companies.
Correct.
So policies have to be enabled to, for example, ANR Shiv now is working to your point, Shiv is now working on entrepreneur PhD, right? Government is saying we'll fund 1,000 entrepreneur PhDs who will go create startups.
Perfect.
Now, if you start doing those kinds of things, then you're actually, enabling the ecosystem from a talent perspective. So you
Correct.
have to work on that. And the final leg is capital. SIDBI had this fund of funds. Now SIDBI is creating another 10,000 crore fund for deep tech, which is good. But in addition to that, how do you incentivize other institutional investors? What kind of tax breaks can you give them to be able to invest, bring capital into the Indian market? What can you do? I think from a policy perspective and also ease of doing business. We keep talking ease of business, but when you actually want to sell a product, deep tech product, one of my startups is trying to sell to somebody, 6 months, we are still trying to get the permission to sell something. You cannot build startups where you're waiting 6 months to get an approval to go deploy something.
Correct.
That's just not done.
Lost half years of capital
So I think, hence there are, a lot of work needs to be done in all these 3 legs, the way I see it. But, we need to remain optimistic, keep pushing and see how we can enable these things to move faster, because at the end of the day, we need to work.
So we could say that yes, we've begun something, but we're a long way to go in deep tech.
I mean, it is. Right?
And of course, I mean,
ourselves.
correct. Yeah, I mean, it can't come like this. These are the fundamentals of the, building industry, and if one could disrupt so easily at commercial level, it wouldn't be very simple. So yes, I get it. The government has to play roles. And finally, I mean, in the last play, while I want to leverage your experience, so my place, let's say it's been good amount of time. You guys have been investors and advisors and etc. But you had to, let's say, switch and wear the entrepreneur hat back again. So dividing the question into 2 things. First, as a deep tech aspiring entrepreneur, what I should think before jumping into it? It's not like a consumer tech startup, very quickly, if you don't have a product, you should at least have a MVP, jump, sell. That couldn't be it. You'll land up, finding wrong ways, spending money there. So what, if you were wearing the hat, what would be the advice to the new guys who are aspiring to get into deep tech, that it's okay, start 2 years before, build these things, get some folks together? So that one advice. And secondly, what kind of sector or problems you would focus on? Maybe 1 or 2 of them. That is a takeaway we would take from you, and we'll quickly wrap up this session.
So look, I never tell anybody focus on this sector or that sector, because I'm nobody to say that. Because
if you were to, I know.
That's
why I placed it that way.
You want to be surprised, right? Yeah. So if you predict what's going to happen, then I think the whole point is lost.
But I won't say. Yeah. You can do.
So, but what I would say is as follows, right? One is you have to be very good with what you're doing, particularly when it comes to deep tech. So it has to be in an area of expertise where you know what you're doing. And typically what happens with deep tech founders is their understanding of the market is at times not where it should be. So if you are a deep tech founder, I would say first go understand your market. Right? Talk to as many people as you can, because it's not the technology that sells, it's the product that sells.
Yeah, the product that sells.
It is solving a problem that is relevant, and what's the size of the problem that you're solving, right? I think, so 2 things I would request them to do. One is do something that you're very good at, particularly when you're deep tech, and 2, go understand your market really well, talk to your potential buyers, and then only jump into it.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. And what would you focus on if you were working on something? Like any 2 nearby problems?
I'm looking at science very closely.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at robotics and cyber also very closely. I mean, it's like, look, as a VC, I'll take anything that I feel has a market. So
Correct.
I cannot just say these 2 because I've done another 3 also. So I hesitate to say these are the only sectors I look at. I will not do that, right? Because for me, I have a criteria saying anything I invest in has to have a technological differentiator. Founders need to be good. Market has to be good. These 3 parameters are met, I'm in.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think I would add to the point Naga made about understanding the market, because really even when I see founders who know what they're doing, they are good at what they're building, or at least the core research, right? And what people falter is understanding the nature of the market, right? when you're building a deep tech, it's important to understand, what are the buyers, where are they in that cycle, right? What are their compulsions for adoption, right? You need, as a early startup, you also need customers who are, okay to live with a pilot product, right? Who can tolerate those initial iterations, right? Because what kills deep tech startups is the long iteration cycles, right? Often there's a hardware involved, there's a long process involved. It's not like a software you push do a Jira push and, you can switch on a new version of the browser that people enroll, right? There are hardware cycles involved, parts procurement, you have to re-engineer things. So people who can actually start using a product, even if it is 80% there, give you quick feedback and okay to, with some defects, because that will speed up your journey, right? And then you kind of start to focus on, okay, what is the area that I'm building towards, right? Because even within, let's say, you're doing robotics, right? Because there's so many ways to sort of apply this. Like, for example, I don't know if autonomous driving, there is a market for autonomous driving on the roads in India, right?
Correct.
But if you're doing autonomous, let's say, for defense in some, challenging environment, I think there's a huge market for that. Right?
Correct.
So I think it's very important to get that part right.
Yeah, true. So the takeaway is, so I completely agree, because one of our deep tech defense companies took 2 years to build the fundamental surveillance and unmanned play. It took them another 2 years to figure out who will be the right party to structure a tender and how will it be bought. They were first made and sent a structure which was an invitation to try and bleed yourself. And the founder, and generally what happens is, like, while you say, sir, the PhD, now the gap, the way the world is made, luckily, unfortunately, fortunately, the innovators are not entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs are always looking for innovators. The guy who is actually doing something, nanotechnology, etc., might have no experience of going out and making a sales pitch out there, which will be taken by, a Merck or a Pfizer to look at, after 3 years we could do this or something like that. So while you're saying that the PhDs are given a chance to, become entrepreneurs, that skill gap is also there, that you need to learn and commercialize. So the takeaway is, find a market, what they're, if they're going to buy, if you're creating something. And sometimes the disruption is too ahead of its time, so you need right mentors also who could show you the path out here. So around this, we could say that find your market, know what you're trying to build. The product, not the technology at the back end, is only important. And yes, the capital leg, you could connect with deep tech funds who are working hard to get yourself sustained. So with that, sir, I think we'll quickly conclude this session. Thank you for your insights. You made time, and apologies for the delay in your session, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It was a beautiful and wonderful session. And once again, sir, we apologize for the delay. Before we let you go, we would love to appreciate your time and effort and energy with a small token of memento. Awesome. After that great session, yes. So moving next, we would talk about AI in drones. No, this we have already done. This is the wrong one. This is your one?
Yeah, this is.
Yeah. So please do.
Hello everyone. So the next session is a very interesting one. So recently we have heard a lot of news about generative AI and how AI is disrupting the entire technical world. So we are going to discuss about like what exactly is working in generative AI and what's not working in generative AI. So this is Anand Gowadia. I am a senior software developer at Nutanix and I will be inviting all the panelists. So first on the list is Sir Rama Ramakrishna sir. He is a principal director at Microsoft and he has done he has pioneered in a lot of technologies, tech stack, including cloud, SaaS and various other domains. Next up on the list is Amit Dixit sir. He is the CTO of Zolo Stays and he is a very active member of IIT BHA Alumni Association. Thank you for your active contribution sir. Next one on the list we have is Madhu sir. Madhu sir is the head of Platform Plus, Perform Plus, and he's also the CTO. It's a part of Waitress Group. Next up on the list is Vivek Gaur sir. Vivek Gaur sir is Managing Director and Vice President of Colt Technologies. Colt Technologies is the biggest enterprise company which is creating infrastructure for companies like Airtel, Jio, and the things of the sort. The next one on the list we have is Santosh Kumar sir. He is the General Manager of Jio Cloud. He has been taking a lot of AI initiatives at Jio. I would like to have a big round of applause for all the panelists. Thank you so much. So without a further ado, let's get started. So my first question to all the panelists is, right now, what exactly is working in generative AI? Like what are the AI agents that the firms are currently using and are actually in production to make money?
Hi, my name is Santosh Kumar. I'm working as a general manager in Reliance Jio and taking care of AI and cloud and edge computing kind of initiative. First of all, I would like to understand that before commenting on that what can be productized or what agents are there, we have to understand the ecosystem. And because I am leading cloud platform engineering, I will try to answer it from that perspective only. When we say platform, or ecosystem, it's basically a layers. I can visualize 3-4 layers over there. One is infrastructure layer. When I say infrastructure, so it can be a combination of latest hardware, latest GPUs, and latest cloud platform. Like Azure is there, Microsoft technologies are there, or even you can build a cloud platform using open source technologies. Suppose that there is a layer of framework. When I say framework, so it's a combination of tools. Your data get ingested, your data get curated, your data get into the model, and then it get into inference, right? So when we say ingest, this is very important to understand because you can use AI, but platform building is a different task. You have to see that how data will ingest. It will come through website, it can come through social media, it can come through scrappy tools. So that things will happen. So ingestion, curation, where classification and removing unnecessary data happen, and then modeling and then inferencing. In between there are a lot of things like cataloging happens, RBAC happens, annotation happens, labeling happens. So we have to build this whole ecosystem in order to achieve or make the fruitful things coming out of this ecosystem. After this, there is a layer of maybe I can say people and skills where data engineers, data scientists, and maybe domain experts are there, and then you need governance. Governance to ensure that you are building some responsible things into the picture. This is how I can visualize that whole ecosystem works. Now, your original question was that sectors where AI agents can work and all those things. So from my personal professional experience, I can mention that healthcare is one thing where doctor assistants are there. There is a very interesting use case where suppose you are reporting to CTO. Now CTO is talking to another CTO. What you will do, you will build something, and then you will ask your CTO's time to ensure that that's get reviewed properly, and then he's talking to someone. What you need to do, you need to build assistant for each of this person. So assistant will talk to another assistant, and once they are in sync, then they can get reviewed by the CTO. That will ensure that time gets saved, and you are efficiently utilizing the AI. So that's couple of things like autonomous vehicles are also one thing, but hallucination happens over there. So healthcare, education, and telecom is also another sector where AI agents are working fine. That's a couple of my thoughts which are coming on this particular question.
Yeah. So as a panelist mentioned, there are multiple agents, right? There are three factors. How it is going to suit your business environment or your enterprise systems. Then what kind of problem or what kind of solution that you are going to work out, and how best you can integrate, right? So these three factors we need to look into, we need to keep in mind. And there will not be a single agent which can serve the purpose. It will be multiple agents. And it could be sales, your operations, your marketing, your, including your product design, the n number of operations in your organization, how you are going to come out with specific agents which are meant for your particular problem solution, right? And how best you will integrate that with your existing enterprise systems. And then how do you benchmark them, right? And obviously, whatever which is available either in the market or if you are building your own, how best you are optimizing them to suit your environment and how you are benchmarking them to make sure that they are optimally working for your solution. And some of them are in the POC stage, some of them are in mature state. And there are multiple areas including autonomous vehicles, definitely there are multiple agents in the POC state. Healthcare is another one, and including fintech, right? Fraud detection and fraud management is another area. So there are multiple applications, but I don't think there is one tool which is going to serve the purpose. And it could be your own, custom tools. And if the agents are available, everybody will be at the same level, right? How are you going to derive your competitive advantage? That means how you are going to fine tune according to your business needs. That's where the differentiation comes into picture.
Could you list some examples, like say from Microsoft, that we are currently using, which are in production for the AI agents? Like,
the fantastic example would be Microsoft Copilot, right? And Copilot Studio is available in case if customers would like to fine tune their agents, they can use Microsoft Copilot Studio and customize to their business needs. Copilot we use internally across all product development organizations within Microsoft. Our entire Azure development organization or Azure development operations completely integrated with Copilot, right? And GitHub Copilot is again another, and all Microsoft tools are integrated with Copilot now. So that's, and I would say, a good example which is part of Microsoft offering.
So I come from India's largest co-living company. We manage more than 60,000 beds across India. So I would like to talk about the use cases which we are working on, and some of the use cases which we are still trying it out, and some of the use cases which are already live in production. So when we started building Assistant, early days when ChatGPT, after ChatGPT came, and within next couple of months, we started building Assistant for all the critical roles which required some knowledge, right? Which was basically in some functions where there was a lot of iteration, and knowledge is very important. When some person leaves from the company, it becomes very hard for a new person to come and know about the processes, how to do work. So we identified a couple of roles. For example, legal was one of the roles, finance was one of the roles, customer service was one of the roles. So like that, we identified HR was another one. So we identified 4 or 5 roles, and we started building Assistant for them. Those were not AI agents, they were like just assistant. worked very well. They went to production. People are still using it, but these are not like very few people they were using it within the organization. We started working on so these have already gone to production. Then we started working on a big enterprise scale AI agents. The one was sales or demand agent, right? How we create the demand and how we acquire the new customers. We've got a AI agent which is already live in our website. With that, we generate the demand. There were a lot of challenges. We'll talk about challenges later also. Second one, which is still in stage, we have not gone to production yet. We are trying it out in a smaller scale. Is customer service, or you can call it as a ticketing agent, right? So our customers, they are living in our properties. They have issues, and our job is to properly manage. Whenever they have any issues with the stay, they complain and we resolve those issues as soon as possible. And if we are able to resolve their issues as soon as possible, our NPS is going to be very good. So, our customer retention is the most important thing in our business. Typical, ticketing systems, there are a lot of ticketing systems. We have our own custom, and there are platforms like Zendesk, Freshdesk. They have also become smart, but there are many problems with that. The problem is exact identification of the category. Whenever customers are raising the issue, they may not be able to find map that into an exact category. So finding out the problem and mapping with the exact category is a problem. After that, if it happens manually, then of course somebody manually has to categorize the ticket. It takes a lot of time, and then manually also from person to person it can differ. Now somebody in the morning he wakes up and water is not coming, right? This is an issue which should be resolved immediately, right? Within 15-20 minutes we should be able to resolve this issue, right? So right prioritization, how can we find out, okay, this particular issue is something which has to be addressed within 10-15 minutes, right? So this is one problem. Prioritization is a problem, categorization is a problem, solving, assigning it to the right team, right? After you have categorized it, then have you assigned it to the right team? Because something which has to be addressed at the property level, has it gone to the property manager and the caretaker so that he can address it properly, right? Properly. So we are working on it. 70% accuracy, 80% accuracy we have received. So this is one thing which is in stage. We are finding out some problems which we will discuss later. This is something I see a lot of value in case if we are able to take it to production, but there are a lot of challenges. So these are the one customer sales or demand generation agent and the ticketing agents. These are the two things which we are actively working on. One of it is in production.
So good afternoon all. I'll try to address this question in a slightly different perspective. For that I'll give you the perspective I'm carrying. The answer is going to be from a user of an agentic or a generative AI solution, and I'll start with that. Right. So there's a very fundamental assumption that generative AI is gone very forward and it takes time to build agentic AI and all of that question. There is a main difference between what happens to agentic or generative AI in pilot and in production, and it's no different from any other solution that we have seen in the last 30 years. And I'll come to that. Before that, all of you have used ChatGPT, Claude, your favorite LLMs. Can anyone tell me how long does it take to build a proper, not even a proper, an experimental agent? I think one of the clue was given already. Technically under 15 minutes, you can have something working. Will it solve a problem? Not necessarily. So that is what is happening in pilot. Today, if you see what happens in pilot, is everybody can do pilot. Your ideation to something experimental is very, very rapid. I can sit today on this esteemed panel here, open my phone and create an agent in under 15 minutes. Will it solve a problem? Yes. For the very narrow space that I have defined, it will solve the problem. But what happens when it hits production, right? All of you are very young, you all know technology, you have seen technology, bright minds. There is a fundamental difference between automation and an agent. And that is the difference between what is happening in pilot world of agentic AI or generative AI and production. One is, does it scale properly? Right? It is a very, very important thing. Second, is it resilient? Is it resilient to work in production? Right? Think about it. If I am building an agentic AI solution, I am from a healthcare space. Let's say I build an agentic solution that is supposed to administer glucose for a diabetic patient. Right? Forget the regulation and everything. How accurate do you want it to be? Do you want to have a probabilistic, stochastic machine telling when a drug needs to be administered to you? Or do you want a very deterministic workflow? Right? So there are certain scope problems when it comes to production, and there are certain scale problems that comes to production, and there are certain resilience problems when it comes to production. So I'll just add one more distinction that all of us have to understand. Startups who are trying to solve for, let's say, industries like us, or people who are trying to solve this particular problem, the fundamental difference between automation, which is very deterministic, and an agentic or a generative AI based solution, which is more probabilistic, is the point of invention or creation for automation can be outside and can be bought inside. Because the idea is to standardize and replicate. It will never work in the agentic world. The reason is you have to fine tune it in the point of application. Context is the most important thing in agentic world, and in all production system, that is our problem. Why are we not able to productionize it at scale, like the way it is done in automation? So there's a fantastic Copilot studio. All of you can create it. But if you make a startup out of it and come to me and say, I have a Copilot agent, I'll give you the easiest of all. Engineering is the easiest of all. That's what people say at least. Right? Let's say you have built a coding agent. For people who have seen the session in the morning, there was code assist from Google. Let's say you built something very similar for healthcare space, or let's say health tech engineering. If you come and tell me I built this nice wrapper that sits on top of a Copilot agent, and you come and deploy it, and here is my ROI, it will give you developer productivity of 40%. And how are you establishing this? My developers use it, it gives me 40% improvement. We have built it on Angular. The minute you take it and deploy it in my context, it will not work. It will not give you 40%, unlike an automation. I think the biggest fallacy that we are seeing is people use the same automation lens and try to baseline ROIs and improvements that an automation used to give, and an RPA used to give, and then say, you will get the same thing in production world without even understanding that the context is where the value is and not necessarily the agent. So that is one point I wanted to definitely cover in terms of what is the difference. I'll come back to some of the actual production use cases on where it really makes value and how do we use the selection. But yeah, okay.
Thank you. I think I fully agree this the concept about differentiation between automation and agentic generative AI. I would also maybe look at, continuing with the previous panel discussion, what is the commercial aspect and the commercial driver of the successful deployment and production use cases of generative AI. And to that I would say that if you really analyze, most of the production use cases would target somewhere on driving efficiencies. Whether it's human efficiency or it's a system efficiency or it's a process efficiency, the successful production deployments are mostly, as of now, targeted towards efficiency. What we haven't seen much yet, but I know there are a lot of things that are in POC, are new products and new innovations in the real sense. As such, what I mean by that is drone technology, for example. Similarly, we could think about customized medicine. There are different type of innovative use cases that are still in production, POC. So I think that's what the broad distinction is, whether you look at your market segmentation, your customer analysis, your fraud management in a fintech, or your process enhancements or co-pilots, they're all targeted towards efficiency enhancements. That journey has come to a mature stage. I think
the context of this ecosystem and this setup is to look at more futuristic arena, and I think that is where if you focus more about defining products and services that are fundamentally new to the market, I think that will blow up the whole thing. So without going in the specifics of what are the production and what are the POCs, this is the broad categorization I feel I could do. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. It was a wonderful conversation from all of you. So moving on, I want to just set the stage with a few more things. So back in the days when iPhone, Samsung and Motorola, Nokia launched their phones, right, the smartphones, that was one of the most biggest event that happened in the tech industry. It has been said that then when the advent of LLM models is the next biggest revolution that is currently going on. And it is moving so fast that it has been 2 years and we have seen so much development in this space. Like if you have seen ChatGPT 2 came, 3 came, now ChatGPT has so many models and it's continuously improving. So we can see that if we just track it, like in the next 10 years, how good and accurate this will be. So my next question to the panel says, like, how do you guys, how the enterprises decide whether to build AI agent in the house or by a commercial one that is being built by some of the startups? So there are a lot of folks here who are working in the startups and they wish to know, like, if an enterprise consider buying a commercial AI agent versus building it in-house.
Maybe I can start.
Sure, sir.
So, very good question. See, right now there's so much going on in this whole space. Nobody really knows, right? As we discussed, I think he also spoke about it, the return on investment. In our previous panel also he spoke about it. Actually, even leaders also don't know if we are going to get a right return on investment, right? So everybody is very hesitant in buying a product and just investing money in a product. Those who have teams, a lot of people, they have a small teams, so they have started trying themselves. And I am also doing the same exactly. I have got a small team which works on this. We have taken demos. Nobody is satisfying our needs. Not even, nobody is coming close to even 50% also. In general purpose, LLMs and agents, a lot of people are offering, a lot of startups are offering, but they are not fulfilling our needs. So as far as I am concerned, we are trying ourselves, and that is also helping us building a capability internally, and which is helping us in doing the product evaluation much better. So we have not bought it, but if some product which is able to cater our requests, at least 80%, then we will be ready to buy. But right now we are building capability internally, and because so much going on, I don't think that it is very wise to invest in a product because I have not come across any product which is able to fulfill my need at least 80%.
Okay.
Yeah, so building in-house versus any third party depends on what are we trying to solve and how and where we are trying to provide differentiation, right? If the solution is going to be fast enough and more or less accuracy is not a problem but is reasonably good enough to solve the problem, you can use any third party tool and provide that differentiation. But if you have capability and if you have resources and if you are going to solve a particular segment, then obviously building your own agent is always preferable. If not building your own agent, you have to sustain and then keep up to date with the data, and that's how it is going to become better and better, right? So that is a journey altogether, right? And there are also market opportunities, as we discussed. There are opportunities, for example, in the healthcare sector to provide personalized health assistance, where AI agents could be beneficial. Autonomous vehicles is another area. Fintech, fraud detection and fraud management, another area. Even we have LLMs, but natural language processing, NLP, and now there is a NLU, natural language understanding. and even there is a lot of scope for emotions analysis and things like that. That's where specific agents will come into picture. And now there is a discussion and demand in the market about in the creative industry to have specific tools for creating unique music, art, and a number of things. For that, probably what kind of segment that you are targeting, and maybe an opportunity to come out with specific agents. But again, it is not just only come out with one time. You have to build your entire infrastructure. How do you sustain it, maintain it, and continue the journey of keeping it up to date. And secondly, how you integrate, and that's the reason again, what problem are you solving and where it is going to be integrated, and then how do you sustain it.
I think my thoughts are already covered by both esteemed panelists. The only thing which I want to add that yes, if you have right skill set within your organization, if you know that to whom you want to serve your product, then definitely, and you have that SLAs within your team in terms of capability, you should build by yourself. Maybe I want to tweak it a bit. I will tweak this question in a manner that whether you want to use open source technologies to build solution, or whether you want to take a solution from established players, maybe AWS, Microsoft, or anyone. So if you want to build a product which has some SLAs for customer in B2C market, definitely you should assure yourself that whether you will be able to build that particular product in a manner that that those SLAs will be met or not. If you are sure, you should build. If you're not sure, I think no harm to start with available market products and then build your journey accordingly. Again, referring to the same product, to Copilot, which everyone was suggesting.
Just to add, it also depends on your business operations. I will give one example. For example, Azure. We need a data center to run entire Azure, right? The way we manage our data center, how do we handle those tickets? Whether it's a hardware, software related, how best we bring systems online. That's very specific to us, right? So obviously, how do we manage the entire life cycle of our systems? We try to build our own agents to make sure the Azure data center is up and running all the time.
Maybe I'll share a personal experience. You'll get an idea of how people, the buyers who have discretionary spend, will buy agents in the future. We'll give an idea of it. Let me start by saying, the agent that I would have bought 6 months back, I will not buy it now. Right? And that is the truth of it. And that is a very important consideration for startups, because whenever we buy a solution, there are 3 layers to it. There is a layer of intelligence, and that's what we keep talking about. LLMs getting better, putting more agents and all of that, right? Then there is a layer of business process, right? Your startup can be the layer of intelligence, or it can be business process, and there is a layer of experience. What is your core proposition? If the core proposition is the same work can be done with a better experience, then you're selling experience to me. If you're optimizing a business process, then you're doing the second layer. If you're optimizing for a greater intelligence, you're at risk. Let me tell you that. The reasons is, the Microsofts of the world, the Googles of the world, the Bedrocks of the world, the AWS of the world, they will do the last layer faster. And that's the reason I'm saying the agent that I bought 6 months back was because AWS did not have something called Bedrock. Today, I will not buy it. I will not buy the same product because it was trying to do orchestration of agent creation faster. In Bedrock, I can do that in 2 minutes today. So it's not something that I will buy. But if you are solving a vertical domain problem as a business process, I'm all ears. So that is one fundamental shift that is coming up, saying how do you really build in verticalized agents which are very, very context and domain specific. I will also add one more point of view for all of you, is we keep talking about agents. Please understand, a lot of times the value of the agent is based on the data that you train. And coming from the domain, which is healthcare, if you're not a healthcare company, you don't have access to healthcare data. So what you're essentially giving me is a data, I'll put it more into perspective. Let's say you have got some data from Kaggle, and you have done an entire healthcare AI that can detect, let's say, cancer cells in a mammography, in an X-ray. right? So I look at an X-ray and then say if cancer is there or not. What would you typically do? You'll take this data, there's an open source data that sits in Kaggle, you train an agent, you put these 3 layers and then say, voila, I have an agent that can do this in under 3 minutes, all your radiologist work can be done easier, and I start selling it out. I take the same thing, and then when you come to me, the question that I generally get asked is, this data is not the same data as our data. So for this to be useful and to give me ROI as an organization, which is the only thing that we look at, it has to be trained on my data. So if the training, fundamental foundational training is done, the only way it becomes production grade, going back to your question and to make it really valuable, is unless you bring that agent into my enterprise and you retrain it on my data, it is still a pilot for me. It is good for PPTs, it is good for pitches, it does not work in production. So the distinction is always, you put it in the context, and context is what we bring to the table. Right? So that is how we really look at, okay, do we build or do we buy? A lot of times, today if you ask me, 3 dimensions I look at, and I'll pass on after this. So 3 dimensions we look at in terms of this question, whether we build or buy. One is, did the solution train with similar data so that the reasoning exists within it? Right? And I specifically talk about reasoning because all of you are already here. Our collective knowledge in this auditorium is available for $20 a month. Please understand that. That's the cost of ChatGPT, right? The collective knowledge of this auditorium, not the collective intelligence. The collective knowledge of this auditorium is only $20 a month. All facts are available. What is not available is intelligence, which is very, very contextual. And that is what we want. And if you have startups here who want to work with health tech and healthcare solutions, building enterprise context into standard agents, that is an opportunity for us. That is something that you should definitely try. There are a lot of people who want to really solve that particular problem. Yeah. What do you?
I'll just keep it simple. I think to me it's more about the combination of need and culture of the organization. If, if the industry needs new use cases, if the industry needs more customized use cases, if the organization needs more specific use cases that the bigger players do not cater to at this moment, then you'll be pushed to kind of develop your own agents. But more importantly and more oftenly, what I find is that it is an organization culture. If you are in the DNA of, if you have the DNA of development, self-development, and driving some of those initiatives and innovations, then you do it typically. But if you don't, then you keep buying stuff and struggling with it.
That makes sense. That has a lot of interesting facts that are coming out, and I think a lot of folks who are doing startups will get to know, okay, this is working and this is not. So moving on, we want to know what are the things that are currently being done as a POC in this space. So, and if these POCs are not working, could you give some examples where the startups can come and bridge the gap? Some ideas, maybe $1 billion idea that this is still not working for us, and because we are a big enterprise, we are moving slowly, so our startup can come, move fast and do this.
I would request everyone, in the interest of time, just keep your views short. We need to wrap it up.
I usually have the longest view, so you should give it to others.
Everybody likes to speak.
I know.
I think telco is the background from where I'm coming. So telco has a lot of space where, I think one of the India's number 1 or number 2 telco player has already done with, spam filtering using AI. So I think telco is one thing. Apart from that, healthcare and education are the important things where I think startups can make an impact using AI. That's my thought.
I would say drones and autonomous vehicles that we talked about, still, agents are in the, POC stage. In addition to that, Industry 4.0, industrial automation, cyber physical systems, there are a number of opportunities to have customized agents. In addition to that, healthcare we talked about, personalized health assistance, and then, cyber security, because there are so many use cases in cybersecurity, obviously, with respect to the threat pattern, there could be an opportunity for specific agents. So broadly, I would, classify into these areas.
So there are many things which are not working. First of all, you don't have all the data which is required for agent to operate, especially when you're working on customer-centric agents, right? Customers have all type of questions. So, you may not have that data exposed. So, you need to expose all kind of data so that the agents can use it and give information to the customer. Now, other challenge is if you are using a general purpose with little bit smarter agent, when a complex question comes, right, you need to have the specific answer. Many times we see that, okay, especially in our case, what happens is there are some regulations related questions, right, or some policy related questions. People ask and we say that, okay, sorry, we don't have answer for that, right? And customers, when a conversation goes long, they always come to these kind of questions where we have to say that, sorry, we don't have that. And in case we give a generic answer, it is wrong. For example, somebody says that, how much notice period do you have? If I just use a general purpose LLM and give the answer, it is wrong because it doesn't match with our policy, right? So data is not exposed. You have, basically you need to expose the data as API. How do you control the information which you are giving? So basically data privacy, data security, agent-to-agent interaction. This is something is a big problem. And the biggest opportunity I see is domain specific agents. General purpose are not giving, not helping in automating the business process. That's where I see a biggest opportunity. So we should start building the domain specific agents. And startup also have great opportunity, and Indian services industry also has a great opportunity in this particular area because problems are very specific to what particular domain.
Thank you. So I'm not going to suggest anything blue ocean today. I'll keep it very, very real and realistic. If you want to start a startup and get it going in the next 3-6 months and make some lot of money, here is one suggestion. Right? I'll take example of Bangalore. Bangalore has got 1.5 million IT workers. 33% of that is mid-managers. Right? That is an area where everybody is targeting on how do you really optimize that work and elevate the knowledge workers that they do. Right? If you're able to find any solution around pure engineering or system integration or IT for that 33%, you have an opportunity right away. That is option number one. Option number two. This is the question that I ask myself, right? I provide services to healthcare. I'm also part of the healthcare ecosystem. What is the service I will sell in 3 years from now? It's going to be very, very different. And I'll give you an example of how I am going to hire. I'm going to hire, saying, okay, employee, how many agents do you bring to my table? That is how the interview is going to be. It's not going to be, do you know Angular, do you know .NET? In the future, the world is going to be, okay, Madhu, if I hire you, how many agents do I get along with you? Now, that's an opportunity for you. In the ecosystem, you can create a way where you can have a B2C mechanism of selling agentic workflow solutions, domain specific, that consumers can buy or build themselves. That's a fantastic area because that's where the world is going.
Thank you. I'll once again keep it simple and go back to my previous point that, if the difference between startups and the big players fundamentally is what area are you targeting. If you're targeting once again the efficiency driven or driving efficiency area, then I'm sure somebody else is already looking at it. And when you do efficiency related solutions or enhancements, the ROI is the biggest player or the factor in it, and hence bigger players will be able to beat it much better than the startups. For the startups, I think creating new products, creating new solutions, looking for new problems is the area where you should maybe focus more on. There's a huge opportunity from a technology perspective. Just use that, I would say, more than trying to drive and address the efficiency aspect of it.
Sure. So we have a last question for the evening for the panels.
It would be great if we can just
Yeah,
wrap it up.
this is I think probably a yes, no, or a very one-line answer.
Perfect. Quick answers, yes.
So the question is as we have discussed, we came to a conclusion that if any startup is building an AI agent, right, and it doesn't have the context to your use case, it won't work for you. So you won't buy it. So in order to make it work, that startup needs to have data of your organization. So there are two things. A, is your organization comfortable in sharing that data to the startup? And B, the AI agent will be using an underlying LLM model which will be hosted by, let's say, by Google or Microsoft. So is your organization comfortable in sending that kind of data? to those organizations?
Since I have the mic, so I think once again, if it depends on the use case and the problem that we are addressing, there are some data sets that we'll be more than happy to share externally. But if there are some specific solutions and the specific problems that we are addressing, then we would like to have some customization. And in those scenarios, we are more than happy for the startups to come in, work with us jointly to try and solve the problem. But not the generic problems. The world is anyways looking at it. We don't need to send our data for that training and that solution.
No, I agree. In short, yeah, I agree. Efficiency problems, yes. Innovation problems, most probably no.
I'm open for sharing the data in case somebody wants to work with it.
That's great.
Yeah, I think it's already shared. So specific, data, specific solutions, always, you have to go with some collaborative engagement. If you want to fine tune the model, you can use any of the generic stuff which is available.
Yeah, I think same. Use case dependent, and I think SLM is a thing which comes into the picture in that particular case. So you have to create a model accordingly. You have to fine tune model accordingly for specific organization to get best out of that. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Thank you for keeping that so objective and crisp.
Yeah. So let me call Jai Shankar sir for
Yes.
distributing the mementos.
Sure. Yes, please, sir. Yes. Let's have a group picture. Thank you so much. Thanks for reading this. I was in bed. Thank you so much. Moving next. What happened to this? It's working? Yeah. Yeah. Moving next, I would like to invite Mohan Tamble sir, founder Sentiment AI, for a beautiful product demo of Sentiment AI. Sorry, Sentient AI, my mistake. So next we would have product demo of Sentient AI. Mohan Tamble sir, please come on the stage. Sure, okay. Perfect. Srini?
Hello everyone. I'm trying to give you a demo just like what I used to do long time back in IT, where till the last minute there are suspenses. And here one has had enough of them since yesterday, when at 9:30 in the night we tried out everything except the HDMI, because we thought, HDMI is a normal thing. You just plug in and the audio video will come in on the screen. But lunchtime when we tried again, video is coming, the audio is not, and I'm showing a chatbot thing where one is going to ask questions and is going to answer without audio. What will be